Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. Back at the basic meditation class, Buddhist Society. Basic means absolutely essential. And I hope you've brought along all the equipment you need for a bit of meditation, namely a body and a mind. And I hope you're bringing, the right sort of attitude with you, one of curiosity, but also a relaxed feeling, if you can. Relaxation, curiosity, letting go, noticing, and then how do you view a session of meditation? Let me say what I said a couple of weeks back. Ways I in as much as I think about these things, when I'm going to sit in meditation, I could look at it like as being nature study. It sounds quite serious, nature study. And obviously what one's doing is, studying the nature of the mind, really. Nature study. Or another slightly lighter way of looking at it is it's a night at the movies, isn't it? In the sense that we're going to sit here and we're going to watch what's on the screen. And I don't mean the screen sitting in front of you on the phone or the laptop or whatever. I mean, it's like, well, what's going through your mind? What's going through the mind? And so there's the contents of the mind, there's the action of the movie and all that. And then there's the screen, which supports whatever the contents, whatever's showing tonight. You wouldn't notice it unless there was a screen there. It's another way of looking at it. And then there's really a sweet way that Ajahn Chah, Thai teacher Ajahn Chah, would talk about meditation as being, a holiday for the heart, going on a holiday of the heart. So these are all little ways of thinking about what we're going to be doing. So let's do it. So again, if anybody's new to this class, I'm just keeping an eye on people coming in. If anybody's new to the class, particularly welcome. What we do, usually I give a bit of guidance in the first session, a few tips, which old hands, experienced meditators can ignore. In fact, anybody can ignore them. But, I might be saying, do something, scan the body or let the attention rest on the breath. And you've been using a mantra or something like that. Well, just keep at it. If whatever your regular practice is, just keep doing it. If you think it works for you, that's good enough, isn't it? What more do we want? So I'll give a few tips which you can use if you think they're helpful. And then after a while, 25 minutes perhaps, something like that, we'll take a little break. And I might say a bit more about things like meditation. And then we'll sit again afterwards, and I'll try and keep quieter then. And then after about another 25 minutes or so, we'll open up for questions, comments, discussion. And I should say that let me just get rid of something here. I should say that if during the course of the evening you feel so inclined to send something through on chat, please do. I'm asking for the mics to be muted until the end of the session. But if you have any burning question to send through, it's quite okay to send them through. And I'll see them in the chat box. So the heart of this practice is mindfulness, whatever that means. It's it's like the religions of the world, the faiths of the world have many different meditations, and Buddhism maybe is unique in promoting this practice of mindfulness, which is as a huge benefit. I was talking, before we opened up to everybody, I was talking to Odin, who's one of the saintly people who runs the Buddhist Society, about mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy. I expect everybody's heard of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a sort of approved by our NHS. If you can find a cognitive behavioral therapist, it's highly recommended for anxiety or depression or many other things. And a strand of it is called mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy. There's a lot of overlap there. It's interesting. And of course, Buddhists do it. It's an integral part of the practice, and both therapists encourage it, secular therapists encourage it, and Buddhist teachers, want to practice it, because whether you're a secular type or a devout Buddhist, you got a problem of life not going too well. It's a cure for Buddhists would say for suffering, existential suffering. So that's why we do it. But I'm absolutely delighted when non-Buddhists pick it up and find that it's very valuable. So what is this mindfulness thing, this practice of mindfulness? It's coming into the present moment. And I sort of said, it's nature study. It's not, theorizing about nature. It's looking at what's right in front of us, as it were. And I don't mean on the computer screen. It's like what's in the mind right now. And what's in the mind right now might be stuff from the past, memories and all that. And it might be, holiday plans or whatever, what you're going to do tomorrow. It doesn't matter what it is. We're just noticing all this stuff. And whatever comes into the mind is worthy of our study, in the sense of just observing it, looking at it, noticing it, but then not attaching. So there are two strands. For me, there are two strands to this mindfulness practice. There's the noticing it, and we're aware of it, and then there's the letting go of it, and that's more difficult, isn't it? Because lots of stuff comes into the mind. You can't miss it, really. But can we let go of it? And in mindfulness practice, we notice, we let go, or at least that's the idea. But it's a practice, so you've got to practice it. It's the letting go of stuff is, as I think we probably all know, everybody here knows, quite difficult. Something comes into our heads, we dwell on it, we lock onto it, wake up in the middle of the night about it, on and on and on. I mean, whatever it is, and I'm not making any judgment about it. It might be it might be a plan to save the planet, or it might be a horrible worry about something. And it's like in mindfulness practice, we just notice it, let go. Quite difficult to do that. Just in this moment, we notice it and let go of it. So that's the essence of the practice. And so I'm just adjusting my posture to help this. Posture is an alert posture and a relaxed posture. For alert, that's great. For curiosity, for inquiry, for noticing. I'm trying to sit up reasonably straight, balanced. So it's not a lot of stress actually. But I'm alert. And if I'm alert, I'm not going to go to sleep. So I'll notice things that come into the mind. I'll notice them even if my eyes are closed. But it's also a comfortable posture. We're not going to sit for very long. Really, we're not going to sit for very long. So just find a posture that's good enough for, you can just imagine sitting like this for 15 minutes, let's say. Easy posture, relaxed posture. And if during a period of meditation, get a bit uncomfortable, just be aware of that. Notice one's reaction to it. That's quite interesting, isn't it? There's a bit of discomfort. And you just notice what the mind does with that. Well, that's interesting. And then maybe we want to change posture. And that's okay. But do it mindfully. In other words, notice what's going on. Is it a little niggle? Or is it a little niggle that turns into a major problem? Just notice these things. This is nature study. We're studying how the mind works. Alert, relaxed posture, and it's really good to bring attention to the body first of all. And our good friend Barry Subhaddo, who was here last week, he carries out guides us in a very full scan of the body, the soles of the feet to the top of the head, just noticing ordinary sensations. Great practice. I just like to do a shorter version of that. Something I always do when I sit myself. Notice the big sensations in the body. And the big one for me is the feeling of sitting. I'm sitting on a chair. Can't miss that sensation. Usually when we sit on a chair, we're doing it to work or to have a meal or whatever it is. But this is just to note sitting. We're sitting here to sit, and we notice what it feels like. We're noticing the weight of the body, contact between backside and cushion or bench or chair or whatever it is we're sitting on. That's a big sensation. You can't miss it. And then our feet are doing something. If we're kneeling on the floor, for example, our lower legs are doing something too. Notice that sensation. I'm sitting on the floor, my feet are on the floor, and I'm very aware of my soles of my feet touching the floor. I'm bringing the attention up through the body, across the hips, into the belly, and there's awareness of the breath in the belly. The belly rises and falls, doesn't it? The pressure of the waistband. And we've parked our hands somewhere, out of the way, really. Lovely gesture, or just in our pockets, or on our laps. And hands are very sensitive. You just notice sensations in the hands, warmth or clamminess, contact. So you got the feet, the feeling of sitting, the rise and fall of the belly, hands, up to the shoulders. How are the shoulders this evening? And as we do this practice, if we want to, and we notice a bit of tension, if we want to, we can relax. It's not that we can't practice if we're not relaxed, but relaxation actually is rather pleasant. So this is an opportunity to do it. So if the shoulders are a bit tight, a bit hunched, maybe just relax. No harm in that. Feet, the knees, the feeling of sitting, the rise and fall of the abdomen, the touching sensations in the hands, shoulders. If we're leaning against something, there's pressure on the back, isn't there? And then there's feelings around the face and the head and the jaw. There again, the lips are closed, the mouth's closed, but it doesn't have to be clamped shut. So if we want to relax the jaw, relax the jaw. Be aware of saliva in the mouth, for example, as well. Be aware of the breath on the nostrils. Warmth of the room we're in, or if it's cold, the temperature on the skin of the face. I sit with the eyelids closed. I close my eyes. You may sit with them half open. But be aware of sensations around the eyes. And if you close the eyes, and I like to do that because it makes sure my attention is turned inwards. This is inward nature study. Right? Just notice the eyelids touching and sensations around the eyes into the forehead. I hope nobody's trying too hard. You can pick that up, can't you? A furrowed brow. But we don't have to do that, actually. This practice is just one of noticing and letting go, and not getting anything more than that. Anything else, what will happen if we set up the conditions, the right conditions? The right conditions are to notice what's going on without attaching to them, actually. Sensations around the ears and into the scalp. Anything there? And here's a lovely one, to be aware of sensations on the top of the head. And there's nothing there, at least not for me. There may be for you. It's not the should not be. But it's interesting to be aware of sensations when there aren't any sensations to be aware of. Interesting. So that's the body, scanned, at ease perhaps, alert. And then, okay, during a period of meditation, to check it out once in a while. Check out and see if we've got too tense. Relax. Or we're nodding off and getting sloppy. Put a bit of oomph into the practice by maybe sitting up a bit straighter. That's what the body's like. Now let's just check out the mind we've brought in this evening. Alert or dull, doesn't matter which. I mean, I on the whole, it's better to have an alert, bright mind. But if it's dull, then we can notice that. Whatever comes into consciousness, we're aware of it without any judgment. You look up at the sky, it's a clear blue sky, or right now it's black where I am and the stars out there. Or it might be covered in cloud. It might be just dull grey cloud. Or it might be sort of basically clear, but clouds are popping across the sky. Okay, so what? Just notice that. So any mood, any mind is okay. Whatever you brought along tonight is Chris for the mill. You can practice with it. There'll be a lot of thinking, I expect. Thinking may sort of subside a bit. I'm aware of that. Noticing and letting go. Noticing and not attaching. And the Buddha encouraged us to maybe use a meditation object as a bit of a stabilizer to help the noticing and letting go practice, which I call mindfulness. And the meditation object can be whatever you like, actually. There are many, many of them. I use the breath, the touch of the breath on the nostrils, but it could be any other part in the body. The rise and fall of the abdomen, for example, or on the lips. It's wherever you notice the breath, and a couple of slightly deeper breaths will do the business. Oh, there it is. It's that sort of. But it could be meditation. Could be sensations in the body. It could be a mantra. May I be well, may others be well. Om Mani Padme Hum. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Or something else we could use as a bit of an anchor. Or it could be mala beads, rosary beads, as we flip them along. That's another little anchor for the attention. Or it could be this sound of silence thing that our good friend and teacher Ajahn Subhaddo encourages. It's like, if you want to know what that's like, well, when I said, what does the top of the head feel like when there's no sensation there? So the sound of silence is when there's external silence. When there's silence, what's the sound of the mind then? And these are all meditation objects, and I'll assume you do what you like, but we're going to follow the breath. We're not going to control the breath. The next breath is absolutely perfect. And all we've got to do is just feel it. Breathing in and out. In breath. Out breath. That's a lovely little anchor. Because, the mind will wander. That's what the attention does. But we pay attention to the attention. Notice the wandering mind. That's part of nature study. Oh, okay. That's not a fault. It's not a fault. We notice where the attention's gone. Which tree is the monkey swinging around on? That's that sort of attitude. Notice that. let go, bring the attention back to the breath. The effort required in meditation is the effort to let go, the effort to point the attention back to the meditation object. A juicy thought comes into the mind, you notice that, you let go, and instead, breathing in, breathing out. And you can see why the breath is such an absolutely splendid meditation object, because it's so calming. It's so kind of neutral. I mean, assuming we haven't got a cold or anything like that, the breath is such a calming practice. It's so non-stimulating, it's peaceful. And the downside is it's not remotely interesting. So the monkey mind just wants to find anything that's interesting. So the mind will wander. And so the practice is noticing that, noticing where the mind has gone, where the attention's gone, and no judgment involved. This is nature study. But what we can do is, before the attention wanders throughout the universe, throughout our lives, throughout our past, throughout our future, let go. Bring the attention right back now to the feeling of the next in-breath, the next out-breath. And it's not just thinking which we'll notice. There's sensations in the body. We haven't stopped being sentient beings. So occasionally we'll feel the feeling of sitting, or the feet touching the floor, or pressure to sit back in a chair maybe. Bring the attention back to the breath. See, we have a choice, actually. Isn't that interesting? We don't have to be on autopilot. We could notice what the mind is up to. That's interesting. And then let go. That's very interesting. We have a choice. We could hang on to what's coming into consciousness. We could let go and go back to the breath. So this is not, I talk about meditation as concentration, you know. And concentration sounds a very heavy sort of thing, doesn't it? You've got to concentrate for this exam. That's heavy stuff. This is concentration in the sense of letting go of everything else so the attention settles on one thing, your meditation object, the rhythm of the breath. Long breath, short breath, deep breath, shallow breath. Breathing in, end of an in-breath, breathing out, end of an out-breath. you look at a Buddha image, statue of the Buddha, you'll often see the Buddha having a sort of showing an enigmatic smile, not a toothy grin, but it's a smile. Maybe in that image, the Buddha is just enjoying the feeling of breathing. Following the breath all the way through, from the beginning of an in-breath to the end of an in-breath, little gap, beginning of an out-breath, end of an out-breath. do please take this opportunity to wriggle around, adjust your posture, stand up if you think that's going to help, have a sip of water. And don't forget that if you want to send some messages through by chat, that's always an option for you. So I like a theme for what we do in these classes, certainly when I'm here. And the theme I've been sort of using, working around, pondering on, is this one called dependent origination. And dependent origination, the Buddha himself said something like it's a profound teaching. It's profound. It's hard to see. It's hard to understand. Wow. And yeah, it's quite interesting. I just got my copy of, here it is, the latest middle way. And in the editorial, one of the first teachings, dependent origination, shared by all the schools, on and on and on. And then it sets out a translation from the Pali, I guess, of the steps in dependent origination, how they affect another. And when I'm just reading this here, some of it looks rather obvious, I have to say. Some of it looks profound, hard to see, hard to understand. But on the other hand, if you want to clarify what that's all about, and it's a very useful thing to do, gosh, mindfulness really helps, you know? Mindfulness really helps. Now, we've probably heard about insight meditation. Practice some meditation, mindfulness meditation. You get a lot of understanding of what a profound, hard to see, hard to understand teaching of the Buddha, actually what it's about. What dependent origination does, it explains the second noble truth. It explains why we suffer. And the explanation, as I say, it's quite long, but in a nutshell, the explanation is we find ourselves trapped by deep-seated habits. So we just keep on making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. That's called rebirth, right? So we experience the world in habitual ways. We see things in a habitual sort of way, and we respond to the world in habitual ways. So we're on sort of autopilot. Secular mindfulness folks talk about being on autopilot, automatic thinking, automatic emotional responses, automatic behavior. That's dependent origination. Now, how does all that come about? The dependent origination formula, for want of a better word, says all this happens, to repeat the way we sort of see the world, experience the world. And we experience the world through our six senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and all the mental stuff as well. Six senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. I probably left something out. Smelling, probably. Okay, so mindfulness practice. And this is where mindfulness practice comes in, because all the teachers say, well, all the sensory experience is coming in through eyes and ears and smells, and through our noses, and thinking, and all the rest of it. And if it's automatic responses to all of that, which causes the problems, then what we've got to do is guard the sense doors. They talk about guarding the sense doors. And the way to guard the sense doors is with mindfulness. And so I was encouraging this a couple of weeks ago, this practice of actually noting what's going on. We note seeing, there's a sight or a sound, we note that, we notice that, put a little label on it. Hearing, put a label on it. Thinking, or feeling, a sensation, the feeling of sitting, notice that, note that. And note there's an automatic response often as well, isn't there? There's a sort of instinctive feeling of attraction or aversion to a pleasant thought, an unpleasant thought, a pleasant sound, an unpleasant sound. A pleasant feeling in the body, an unpleasant. And you just notice that feeling, and then that automatic movement towards it or away from it. Just notice that and then let go. Let it stop there. That's the ideal. Notice and letting go. And the noting practice intercepts the response of the autopilot before one thing leads to another, to another rebirth. Now that's ideal if we can develop our mindfulness enough just to notice that. So I'm speaking now, I'm talking now, just note hearing. Okay, and then back to the breath, as it were. Right? Guarding the sense doors. But supposing we drop our guard, as we all often do, if our mindfulness isn't kind of strong enough, then we can very easily be overwhelmed by an avalanche of emotions, of thinking, of analyzing. That's the autopilot in action again. We haven't escaped from the autopilot. What can we do then? I mean, have we completely lost it? Are we doomed to be trapped, to be hooked onto the desire for this pleasant experience, for example? Are we going to be reborn as that habit of having to get that pleasant, of having to repeat that pleasant experience again and again and again? Are we trapped or not? And it's more difficult, but mindfulness comes to the rescue in this situation if we want it to. And the way to do that is to recognize what's going on. You know, if you like, we've missed the opportunity of just guarding the sense door so it doesn't go any further. And then we notice what's going on after that. We notice the desire, the attachment, and so on. And a great way of doing that is this body scanning practice that we all do, being aware of sensations in the body. So there's desire out there. What does it feel like? There's anxiety here. What does that feel like? There's tension and fear. What does that feel like in the body? Not as a thought, but in the body. Anger. What does anger feel like? And when we notice that as a raw sensation in the body, there again, there's this opportunity to notice that as a physical sensation and let go. Isn't that interesting? So, I mean, two stories, two incidents I probably told you before. Way back in the mist of time, when we didn't have smartphones with smart cameras, I wanted to buy a camera. And I was in London one Thursday for the basic meditation class. And there was a camera shop, you know, a quarter of a mile away down the road. So I went to buy a camera. And there were many, many lovely cameras there. And I just noticed that I wanted to buy a camera. And I wanted to buy that one or that one or that one. And I suddenly realized this desire was a highly unpleasant experience. Desire, in fact, was not lovely. It was painful. That sensation of grabbing, of wanting to get hold of. And I beetled out of the shop without buying a camera. Let go. Get out of the way. Or anxiety and worry. It's butterflies in the stomach. Is it a problem that one can't figure out? Or is it butterflies in the stomach? So this is all about recognizing what's going on, in particular, how desires and aversions and all the rest of it manifest as a physical sensation. And when you do that, it gives you a chance to stand back and consider the consequences. Is it all really worth it to reflect on impermanence? Is that camera going to be outdated or not? You know? Or is this problem with the boss going to last forever? To reflect on impermanence. And I mean, just notice things like even something like desire or a pleasant experience and desire for it indicates a lack. I haven't got something. That's the problem, isn't it? I haven't got it. There's a lack there. That's dukkha. And so we can learn from all of this. So that the message is very simple. Keep up the mindfulness practice and intercept sights and sounds and smells. Guard the sense doors and just look at it just like that. And just look at the impulse to back away, to go towards. And if the strength of our mindfulness is not enough, then if an autopilot starts taking over, then to recognize that, to recognize what's going on, and maybe, notice these sensations of desire and aversion as they manifest in the body. And if they manifest in the body, it's probably easier to, and we notice that, when we mindfully notice what's going on, then once again we have an opportunity, if not to let go, to actually use our brains and think about the consequences. Is this really what I want to do? And above all, just learn what we're attached to. Just learn about our attachments. Learn about our aversions. It's a long process, but that's what we've got to do. So we got to sit now again. Compose the body. Alert, relaxed. And if you like, you can work with this noting practice. To say that this is just a refinement, if you like. Mindfulness is just noticing and letting go. In my book, it is. But maybe we need a bit more, in a sense, to do. So we could note. By noting, I mean actually put a label on. Right now I'm here, I'm talking, I'm speaking. You notice hearing. Let go back to the breath. Maybe you notice a bit of pressure from in the seat, from sitting. You notice that. Note it. Feeling. Back to the breath. Something comes to the mind. You got a date later on this evening. You notice that. Note it. Planning. Back to the breath. This noting practice and the emotions that go around trigger, it was automatically triggered by what's coming in through the senses. Just notice that. Note it. Note it. Note it. Let go of it. Back to the breath. Difficult practice. But nobody said that mindfulness is all it is like popping a pill. Got to work at it in an alert but relaxed way. Alert, relaxed way. Noticing, letting go. Noticing our attachments and learning to let go of them. Just using the rhythm of the breath as a little anchor, a tranquilizing anchor. The anchor doesn't hold the boat firmly in one spot, it just prevents the boat from bobbing off too far. That's what our meditation object does if we let it. It's the breath, sensations of breath, breathing in, breathing out. And that can be quite pleasant, peaceful. And then when there's a sound, when we see something or feel something or think something, the attention will bob away. And we know that. We notice that. Let go back to the feeling of breathing. In, breathing out. So this is a very honest practice. When the attention wanders, sure it wanders. We notice that. That's the truth of the matter. But it's not a hanging offense. This is nature study. It's part of our nature. Notice very observantly, but very compassionately, not analytically, not judgmentally. Let go, deliberately. Point the attention back to the feeling of the breath. In a moment or two, I'll ring the bell, and when I do, come out of the meditation slowly, easily. Keep it going. So you'll notice sound, hearing, and what? Bring the attention to the body. Scan the body again briefly. Notice sensations in the body. Feeling. Probably want to move. Notice the intentions to move. Maybe the first thing is opening the eyes. There's got to be an intention to do that. Could do it automatically. It's not quite in the style of mindfulness practice. Sitting with the eyes closed, have a choice. Keep them closed or open. Nothing wrong with opening them. To be aware of that intention. And I find it very helpful to be aware of the feeling of seeing. Got your lights are on probably where you are as they are here. When you open the eyes, you feel the light hitting the eyes. Then you notice the intention to maybe move, to wriggle and move the hands. Maybe make a little bowing gesture. That's moving meditation. So in a moment or two, I'll ring the bell. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good sit, whatever that means. Odin, Wongdu, please could you give everybody who wants to the opportunity to unmute their mics? And trying to get my cursor working here. There we go. So please, everybody, if you'd like to ask a question in the flesh, as it were, unmute. Please ask a question or make a comment, or else send a chat. Happy doing it like that. I'll try and pick that up in the chat box. That would be good. Just a word or two, perhaps, about different, meditation objects. If the mind is particularly busy, it's quite difficult to notice the patterns of thinking and all of that. Remember that often we think, at least I'm speaking personally, often I think we think kind of verbally, silently but verbally. So one way of perhaps getting a bit more control over it would be to use words as our meditation object. That's one way of viewing a mantra. So instead of, may I be well, may others be well. You just repeat that. May I be well, may others be well. Or in the Thai forest tradition, they just use the word Buddho, 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 which just means awake, awake. Or Om Mani Padme Hum in the Tibetan tradition, which doesn't mean anything to me particularly, but it's a phrase that one can just repeat to oneself. And so it's more difficult to think in words if at the same time we're using words quietly to ourselves. May I be well, may others be well, may I be well, may others be well. And then the sound of silence. It's quite difficult if we tuned in to this sound of silence. It's quite difficult to think through it, you know. But above all, not to get hung up on the thinking problem, because who says it's a problem? Part of our nature is to think. Simple as that. But it's just nice to be able to step back from it. You know, in the context of dependent origination, you know, thoughts lead to all sorts of things. We can go off on automatic pilot. And that's probably not a great thing to do. So there's some ideas. But very welcome to get some discussion going. Right, I see something appearing here. I wonder, Wangdu, if you could sort of, it's appearing at the bottom of my screen. I'm going to try and do that. Valentina, now it's disappeared. You've disappeared from the bottom of my screen. Wangdu, rescue me, please.
Yes, so, yes, Colin.
Can you put it in the chat box, do you think?
I haven't received any chat.
Oh, okay, something popped up on my... Valentina, if you're there...
I'm here. They all are unmuted. They can unmute. I haven't received any chat yet.
Okay.
If I receive any, I will forward it to you.
Thank you so much. I think somebody called Valentina tried to get a message through. Is that right?
Hi, Colin. Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Yes, sorry. It was a question about if you had any advice on how we can practice when we are grieving and going through emotional pain, and how meditation can help in the grieving process. Thank you.
Well, that's a tough one. The first thing is to take it easy on ourselves, you know. We're being hurt. Let's not beat ourselves up because we feel we shouldn't be that way, or grieving or anything like that. You know, it's like it's very easy to sort of think, well, one shouldn't be. But if it's in our nature to do that, that's okay to do that. So we're just aware of that. We accept that. And it's important to practice a lot of compassion towards ourselves. So I'd encourage, I don't know whether you've come across loving kindness meditation. I could say a lot about that. But in loving kindness meditation, Metta Bhavana, that's the techie Pali name, we send thoughts of well-being to all sentient beings, including this one. You know? So you know, I've done this quite a bit. I find it very, very helpful. So, you know, the practice might be, and I'm summarizing it, I'm not doing it justice, but I might be on the in-breath, may I be well, on the out-breath, may others be well. Breathing in, a wish for myself, breathing out, a wish for others. And that, you know, might sound a bit selfish to you, but you can only share something you've got already. Right? Now, if you're grieving, if you're going through a lot of emotional stress, you've really got to focus on being very kind to yourself. You've got to think of your own good qualities and your need for loving kindness, you know. I'm sure, you know, you're a lovely person and you've got to appreciate that. And as I say, think of your own good qualities and wish yourself well, and wish yourself well. And if you're grieving for somebody, wish them well as well, whatever that means, you know, whatever that means. So, I mean, I really encourage this practice of being compassionate towards oneself. It's not selfish, not remotely selfish. But the danger, you know, is the selfish thing is having a negative self-image. You know, don't do that. Appreciate yourself, and you see your own pain. You know, if it was somebody else who was suffering, if it was a good friend who was suffering, you'd want to help. At the very least, you give them, you know, you'd say some kind words to them. You got to do it to yourself, I think. Try that. Does that make any sense, Valentina?
It does. Thank you, Colin.
I mean, it's very difficult, but try that and see. Any other, thoughts or questions or problems that we could help with, maybe? Mm-hmm. So while you may be thinking of something, next week, Richard Bober will be leading the class. And then the week after that, Ajahn Subhaddo will be returning. And that'll be the last meeting before Christmas. And we'll take about 3 weeks off, I think, for the Christmas break. So do come along to on those days, the next 2 Thursdays. And then there are these other classes, meditation classes open to everybody, free, for nothing and all that. There's a lunchtime class on Mondays, a lunchtime class on Fridays. They are much shorter than this one. I think they're about 40 minutes, 45 minutes in total. And there's something similar, I think, on Sunday mornings. And you're very welcome to log into any of those. Any other thoughts or questions about anything you like, Buddhist practice, dependent origination, meditation, bits and pieces, practices. Here we go. All right. Right, here's something. Is it better to avoid Christmas gathering if there's a chance we might get involved in rowing? Oh, there again, it's flashed off the screen. I saw something like, is it a good idea to get involved in Christmas gatherings if we're going to get into rows? Is that right? I've got this strange thing going on at the bottom of my screen rather than the chat box. Who asked that question? I can't see, but if you can unmute. I mean, obviously, look, on this point about, Christmas gatherings and all that, Christmas is a great time to be a Buddhist because we find it difficult. We can do. The most popular, back in the day when there were real live retreats at Amaravati, or I guess the other monasteries as well, the sellout retreat was between Christmas and New Year. Okay, that was when people really took refuge in Buddhist practice. You see, the thing about Christmas, I mean, we Buddhists can be very, very snooty about Christmas. Actually, it's like, gatherings at Christmas. Well, it's great to gather with. But let's park COVID on one side because I think that does complicate things a little bit. But usually, Christmas gatherings, it's great to get together with other people, spend time with other people we like. On the other, and let's just use the phrase family and friends. But maybe we don't get on that well with family, so we've got an interesting situation. So meeting people, perhaps spending a bit of time with people we'd rather not meet. That's quite interesting, isn't it? I like that. It's like, it's like doing it's like doing metta practice. Okay, I'll come, but somebody's just sent me something else. I'm just pausing before it flashes off my screen. I've only seen the top line of it. I'll come back to that. It's a good question. I'm just talking about Christmas. How to survive Christmas. Right. So, the question is, how do we sort of, it's like when you're doing metta practice and you're sending thoughts of kindness to others, goodwill to others, goodwill, that sounds a bit Christmassy. It's easy to do it with people we love, people we like. Can we do it with people we're not too keen on? And that's quite interesting, isn't it? It's more like, you don't have to love them, but you don't wish them harm. You don't wish them ill. That's interesting, and that's an interesting little thought. Of course, Buddhists also get very snooty around all the the shopping, all the rest of it, the materialism. Actually, generosity is a thing that Buddhists are quite sort of keen on. And peace on earth and goodwill to all human beings and other creatures, we're very keen on that. So I don't think we should be too snooty about Christmas. You know, I really don't think that. I mean, I was the very first time I went to Thailand, 95% Buddhist country. It was about Christmas time, and I was quite amazed how you'd go out in the streets. It was all very Thai until you got to somewhere where there was Santa Claus, who was singing Christmas carols, and the thing is, Thais just to enjoy having fun sometimes, So it's kind of like, I think the question was quite specifically, what do you think about? I may have misread this because it flashed up on the screen quite quickly. I'm just trying to see if I can improve anything here. It was my fault. Okay. Yes. Right, Christmas gathering. If there's a chance we might get involved in rowing or getting annoyed, or should we grin and get on with it? Well, okay. Then I would suggest if you can avoid that sort of situation, it sounds a very sensible thing to do. I don't think it's, I know we all want to refine our Buddhist practice, but that doesn't mean we've got to go into hell to do it. So she said, should we, just grin and get on with it? I mean, there again, we've all got obligations and responsibilities. We've got to make that sort of decision for ourselves. On the whole, if you think it's going to be a horrible experience, and nobody's going to be offended if we don't go, I wouldn't go. Seems to me simple. On the other hand, if the whole family is going to be shocked, horrified, if we don't show up, even if we can't stand them, probably go, actually. But you've got to use your own wisdom about this. Now, I have got some in the chat, so that's just great. Okay, here we go. Somebody says they find concentrating breathing more deeply into the belly help. All right, I've got it. Yes, okay. Strong emotions. Does it help breathing more deeply into the belly, focusing on breath in the belly? Yeah, I quite understand that. There's a more pronounced sensation, and strong emotions often manifest in the belly. So I'm breathing quite deeply in the belly now, and I'm letting go and relaxing. And I think you're right. I'd do that if I were you. Try it and see is the message. And then somebody down here says, what are my views on movement meditation? Is it something that you've done with the group before? Oh, I've never done it before. Okay, right. When moving meditation, gosh, what have I done about that? I'm a big fan of walking meditation. And when you do walking meditation, you do it in a very disciplined way in a confined space. I mean, my little study is, 10 foot wide from bookcase to bookcase. Something like that. And you can do it in a confined space like that. You'd walk very slowly, and you'd pay attention to the footfall, the touch of the foot on the floor, and the sensation of coming off the floor, and the movement forward. And that, 10-foot space, whatever it is, across this room is not very much. So it's great to get a longer space up and down the hall, maybe. 20 paces, 20 steps is really good. Outside in the summer, on grass, taking our shoes and socks off is just absolutely brilliant. You're just aware of the physical sensation of walking. And because we're doing it with the eyes open, it's much more fun because there's distraction, particularly outside. You don't want to go and look at the birds and the bees and the aircraft flying over and all the rest of it. You notice that impulse of bringing attention back to the next step. Fascinating. Now, have we done it in the class? Darn right. At the Buddhist, when I'm doing this class at the Buddhist Society, in the sort of the break bit where I have probably spoken for 10 minutes, today. Instead, we'd stand up and we'd walk. We'd probably walk in a circle, but mindfully, slowly. And it's very good to alternate walking meditation and sitting meditation. Because sitting meditation, we're not sitting long tonight. But sitting meditation, if you sit, suppose you sat for 45 minutes straight off, or an hour straight off, pretty good to get up and do some walking meditation. So that's really good. And I mean, people do Tai Chi. I'm not into Tai Chi myself, and view that as being moving meditation. And moving meditation can be, and I was sort of hinting at that, when I ring the bell at the end, and then I'm sitting here, and I'm going to do some moving meditation right now. So my intention is to, make that little bowing gesture. And never mind what it symbolizes. I'm using this as moving meditation. So, and I'll go through this, right? A bit of a running commentary, okay? So the intention is to raise my right arm. Okay, that's the intention. And it's in my lap at the moment. So I'm raising my right arm. And I'm being aware of the sensation in the bicep there. So I'm lifting the arm up. And usually I do this with my eyes closed, you see, because I'm really sort of doing this seriously. So I'm moving up, and we're there. And then we go to the left arm. You feel the movement in the arm coming up. We bring it together, and we feel the fingers touching. We notice the touching sensation in the palm of the hand. Then there's going to be a little bowing, so a little bowing motion. So I notice the intention to bow. I feel the movement. I come up. And then I'm going to move the hands down slowly. I'm going to move the right hand down. I notice all the sensations there. Lowering the hand goes into the lap. And I notice touching, feeling of touching my lap. I turn the hand over. The right hand I feel moving. And the movement actually across the scapula, the shoulder blade. The lowering of the arm down to the lap, the hand turns on. So that's moving meditation. That's moving meditation, you see. So it's great. I'm all in favor of it, you see. I mean, the Buddha said, he encouraged this practice of mindfulness in absolutely everything we do. He said to the monks and nuns, when you get up and go to the bathroom and wash your face, you're mindful. You notice that. You put on your robes, you notice that. So this is, the idea is to bring this practice of mindfulness literally into everything we do, and that's darn difficult. So we have these little practice routines, which helps. There's training. We're training for real life, which is, it's knocking on 8 o'clock now. We're soon going to be off doing all sorts of other things, and what our practice now is for a purpose. It's helping, with the other 20 or whatever it is, 3 hours in the day. So I'm just looking at any other questions that have popped up. Yes, I mean, I'm getting back to Christmas again. Don't be intimidated or frightened or snooty or feel terribly superior about Christmas. Peace on earth, goodwill to all people. I mean, that just sounds really pretty good. We don't have to, max out on our credit cards. But, generosity can be just being kind to somebody, saying Happy Christmas, or sharing your place with a friend. You got to, I mean, I don't know whether we're going into lockdown again or not, or anything like that. Nobody knows. But I remember the last lockdown, we formed a bubble. Well, my wife and I, the two of us, but a friend of ours lives quite a way away. And, we were her bubble. At Christmas time is when people sort of get together, welcome somebody into your home. It can be just that, So it's not, don't feel snooty about it. Just, dare I say it, have a bit of fun. How about that? Any other questions about anything? That was a good one on movement meditation. I hope that that was useful. That was from Pete. Anything else at all? Well, if there is no more questions or discussion or complaints, thank you very much indeed for coming this evening. Look forward to, well, I won't be here next week, but I will be here when Ajahn Barry is here in 2 weeks' time. Look forward to seeing you then. Between times, take care, look after yourself, send thoughts of loving kindness to all sentient beings, particularly yourselves. Good night.